Greetings and welcome to the Roast with Friends podcast. It's your boy JayMan. Unfortunately, not joined again by the homie C-Rock. Shout out C-Rock and his family. Him and his wife just had a baby, so he will not be on this episode. However, I do have guests with me. I want to give a special shout out to my homie Lamar. If you've been paying attention, watching, we had a episode with Lamar last month. He went over his experience being a Black author. So if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself again, Lamar.
So my name is Lamar Neal. I'm an author and I am a poet. And if you want to look out for some of my books, just type in Lamar K. Neal on Amazon and you'll be able to see all my books there.
Mm-hmm. Shout out Lamar.
Hey.
Shameless promotion.
Yes.
Book right here, Stages. Check it out on Amazon. And we got another guest, new friend of mine, a friend of Lamar. His name is Matt. He's also an author. So if you want to introduce yourself, Matt.
Sure. Along with my shameless plug behind me, as you can see, having my, like I said, my book out. Like I said, me and Lamar have been friends for quite a few years now, and he is one of my biggest supporters and encouragers when it comes to my writing. And so I was actually able to put out this book because of his help and my buddy Chris, who was my editor for it. So it's good to be on. This is a topic I'm hyped to talk about. By the way, I'm ready for this.
Glad to hear it. So today's episode, we're going to be talking about anime. For anyone tuning in, anime isn't your jam. We want to start off by giving you guys some recommendations, stuff that, maybe you think anime is just for kids, and it's actually not. There's a lot of really dark, deep stories, gore, psychological thrillers. Man, so many great topics. Anything you're really into, anything you like binge watch on Netflix, I promise you there's a version of anime that's better, and you're kind of missing out if you're gatekeeping yourself. So we got our homie Matt here, the expert. So I'll let him rattle off a couple recommendations, and then you can give like a quick synopsis, explaining why you're making these recommendations. That'll work out as well.
Sure. So I'll start with the easy thing. If you like a sort of horror influenced but very traditional, like you want to see some people get into some conflict, some combat, some fighting. One of the most popular ones in the world right now, and honestly one of the best made, is a series called JiuJitsu Kaizen. So alongside, ones like Demon Slayer, which of course our host has a shirt on for, JiuJitsu Kaizen is focused on this effect that curses in the very Japanese sense have on the regular populace. And there is conflict both in dealing with the curses as well as with other people who have these same abilities. Really great. It moves very quick. I know a lot of people worry that anime is going to have the Dragon Ball Z problem of 9 episodes to get to the actual fight. It's really good for keeping the pacing up. The mangaka that created it, his last name is Gege. We just call him by that most of the time. Does not like training arcs. He does not like missing the point. He will get to the fight. So if you're looking for that, I also call it "There Ain't No Fair Ones," the anime, because somebody's getting jumped. If you are not the one, that's his name is Gojo. Just know that much. You're getting jumped by multiple people. That's just what it is. Like there are no fair fights. Like it's a great thing. If you've been on TikTok and seen some of the interesting anime compilations where it looks like 2 guys fighting one guy, they seem to be just beating the crap out of him as like lightning's going off behind them. That's from JiuJitsu Kaisen. That happens. If you see one where they seem to be clapping and changing places, JiuJitsu Kaisen, same thing. So I always suggest it as far as like a modern one that does it really well with both the storytelling, but also with the conflict and combat, because I think people look for that. One of the other ones, a classic that I think the Toonami generation knows, but if you missed it on Toonami, you probably don't know about it. If you're a big Western comics fan, especially if you're a Batman fan, Big O. Big O is going to be the one to get you going. You're going to get a little bit of that, philosophical discussion, but you're also going to get a very detective story. You're still going to get conflict because there's literally just a giant robot that fight during the course of this thing. It's going to give you almost everything you want in a single piece. And like I said, you can get it in English with really good dub voice acting. Shout out to all the voice actors for that one. And shout out to all actors that are currently on strike. You know, I'm standing in solidarity with y'all. But it's another really good one to get into as like a, hey, what's a good starting point? There's your classics, there's your Dragon Ball Z, there's your Ghost in the Shell, things like that. But we'll get to those later. Those are my first two opening ones. That if anime is not normally your thing, start with those two and start branching from there.
All right. I've seen JiuJitsu Kaizen, big fan of that one.
Yes.
I have not seen Big O yet. I'm waiting for season 2 to finish up because I can't do that 20-minute taste every week. So I'll wait for the whole thing to come out, then I just binge it. So
JJK's great. And honestly, it's so good that I don't normally say this. It's worth going to go read the manga for, like, until the anime gets done. But yeah, you guys are in a great situation with the anime right now. I'm hyped for the rest of the season.
Yeah, that from episode 1, they really popped off, and I was like, okay, I'm getting into this one. And so I really enjoyed season 1. I'm excited to start season 2 soon.
Yeah.
Definitely need to check out Big O. Sounds interesting. I've never heard of it, so definitely be looking into that.
It's a really weird show at times.
Oh, you've seen it?
Yeah, it was a Toonami, and I think it has season 1, and then it disappeared for a while, right?
So it disappeared for like a year and a half, 2 years, because the person who was making it thought people didn't like it, but the Western audience, because they released at the same time, was really into it. Obviously, like for us, it was being brought to us as this is Batman with a giant robot, and honestly, that's really what it turns into. Like it's Batman with a giant robot, and that made the Western audience really love it. And so suddenly the Japanese audience came on board. So he came back and then finished it with the final 2 seasons. But yes, it does get weird. It gets existential humanity, transhuman, post-humanity crisis weird.
It's very thought-provoking because, like, as a kid,
it's definitely
like if you're older, great. But if you're younger and you just kind of just want to have fun, them last 2 seasons, you might be like, I'm here for the robots. I'm not here. I'm not here for all this philosophical Jaden Smith conversation.
Definitely.
I mean, for me, I kind of jump in mine. I'm definitely not well versed in a lot of the anime, Matt was talking about, but I think there's 2 good ones that people, maybe 3, because anime, for a lot of people, they just think anime, like Matt mentioned, is just like punching people, just screaming, yelling, energy blast. But like anime is a very diverse genre, like anything else. So you can tap into multiple bags with anime. And I think one anime people would love, depending on, like, if they watch like CSI and stuff like that, I think they would love. It was called Case Closed out here, but I think it's Detective Conan.
I heard of that.
In Japan. Yeah, so it's essentially a show where he's the world's greatest detective, and I don't know who he made mad, but he ended up getting put in a little kid's body. So every episode is just him. I don't know how it happened. I forget, but it's essentially one of those episodic shows where every single episode he's solving a crime. But he's working with this girl and her dad. I do believe it's her dad, who's a detective, and he's pretty much trash. So like every episode is like, I'm gonna knock out the detective because I'm a kid and I can't solve this crime. So I'm a way to knock out this detective and solve the crime as if I am the detective. So he's essentially asleep, but he's acting like he's talking through him. So again, every episode is just him solving a different crime. So if you like mystery, I think that would be a good one. Another one is Death Note. If you are okay with listening to 2 people play chess in their head, because it's pretty much so like, Matt knows I'm guilty, but he knows I know he thinks I'm guilty, so I'm gonna do this. But if he thinks this, I'm gonna do this. It's a lot of that. And if you can get past, again, that's why I describe it as 2 people playing chess. If you can get past that, I do think it's a good introductory anime. It's not long. It's maybe like 40 something episodes. That's tame for most animes. It has
a good example of that is it's Sherlock Holmes and Moriarty just constantly
there you go,
like up against each other. That's just the entirety of the show.
And so it's really short. It has a narrative. It's not those animes to where, JayMan, like you mentioned, where a girl walks by and their eyes turn into hearts and they're just little perverts. It's really grounded in the world that it's in. So I think that's a good introductory. Essentially, Death Note is a series where this kid finds a notebook, and anytime you write someone's name in that notebook and you think of their face, that person will die within a couple seconds, I think like 40 seconds of a heart attack, unless you otherwise state how they died. So you can literally write someone's name in that death note and say they will die by getting hit by a car. And somehow in the next 45 seconds, they're going to get hit by a car and die. And essentially, another detective series, the world's greatest detective, L, is now searching for this killer. And it's a lot of back and forth between him and the guy who owns the death note. And then I think another good one would be Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Again, another great narrative, great stories. I think it has a good balance of action with great storytelling, a lot of emotional beats. Like, is the episode with the dog, the girl and the dog, is that like first episode?
It's not the first episode, but it's early
okay.
in the series.
It's really early in the season, but it's a really emotional show. But again, it just kind of uses action and great storytelling. So those would be the three I would tell people to start off with.
Yeah, Full Metal Alchemist is amazing. So many layers to that story, so many amazing characters. Some characters were so dope and they had a quick arc, like 3 or 4 episodes, and that motherfucker was gone for one reason or another.
Come back.
And so I was a big fan of that show. One show that I would say would be great for anyone watching anime for the first time is a show called Erased. Anybody who's a fan of movies and TV shows like The Butterfly Effect, you kind of go back in time, try to stop a tragedy, and maybe you help a little in some ways. Maybe you make things worse in other ways, and you're like, oh man, now I got to go back and do this, and you just slowly start to unravel the reason for the tragedy, and it's just jaw on the floor type reveal. So I won't spoil anything with that. And then anybody who's a Dragon Ball Z fan, and that's kind of like the only anime you watch, the 2 other ones that I would recommend is, depending on what you like more, if you want a little bit more gore, like fighting monsters, you could start with Demon Slayer. Very first episode will get you. Man, the episode had me fucked up. I was not expecting that for the first episode.
Can I give you both something that I think you all will appreciate and will be good for these folks as well? Demon Slayer and one of my favorites, Bleach, as well as JiuJitsu Kaizen. There's a UK drill rapper that has done kind of half summary, half just intro to the show's songs for each of them, and they are awesome. The one for JiuJitsu Kaisen is almost entirely focused on Gojo, and it just trust me, it's worth it. But the one for Demon Slayer, I ain't gonna lie, I played that a couple times in the car because it is pretty hard. I liked it. Like just as a song, I liked it.
Definitely have to check that out. So quick synopsis of Demon Slayer. Man, so the main character, I don't want to spoil the first episode, it's just too good. But anyway, something dramatic happens to him, and he needs to basically go take care of some demons. I mean, it's called Demon Slayer. He finds out a few episodes in that the head Demon Slayer is actually Michael Jackson. And Michael Jackson has like a bunch of like zombie variants that he gives his blood to, makes them stronger. So like they do the Thriller dance, and I'm lying, that was all made up. But you'll see what I'm talking about if you check it out.
That's a random.
And then the last one I'll recommend, same thing. Like if you're a fan of like action fighting, especially if you're a fan of superheroes and like the X-Men, just imagine either the Avengers or X-Men going to high school, becoming heroes. It's called My Hero Academia. It's still ongoing right now. I think they just got a couple more seasons left, so you can definitely tune in and binge watch a whole bunch of episodes before the final. I think I don't know if you guys know, the final 2 seasons are supposed to be coming out, but if you like superheroes,
done, so I think it might be 3 seasons, not 2.
Oh, 3. Okay.
Yeah, it might be 3. Yeah.
Basically, if you like the Avenger movies, if you like X-Men, just imagine them learning from a young age to how to be heroes. And then, man, amazing show. And then before we move on, did you guys have any other honorable mentions you wanted to bring up?
Absolutely.
Go ahead, man.
Monster. So for the folks that are looking for
yeah.
more of a like drama to an anime, like so
I'm
the thing
watching
I
that
always say
right now,
about
actually.
yeah, I
Sure.
treat anime more as a style of film and TV production
Exactly.
as opposed to a genre of anything because of how
Mhm.
varied everything is. Monster is a morality play, and there used to be one called Flowers of Evil, and I can't remember what its name is in Japanese because I used to know it. But the two of them are very much about people. They are dramas. This is slice of life drama, morality play, situations as opposed to the conflict being physical. The conflict is much more, personal and internal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm about 35 episodes in, somewhere around there. So about
Oh yeah.
halfway.
Halfway, yeah.
I watched the first 50 episodes like 2 or 3 years ago when it was on YouTube, and then they randomly took it off YouTube.
Mhm.
And I looked it up and it wasn't anywhere else other than, watching on one of those pirate sites, which I personally don't like to use. But Netflix randomly picked it up
Yeah.
like 6 months ago. And then I was like, oh, cool, I can, get caught up. I go on there and this is only half the episodes. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'm not dealing with this. So then I found out a few months later they had the full season. And I tried to jump in. I was like, I'll jump in like 10 episodes back. So I started at episode 40. I had no clue what the fuck was going on.
Yeah.
That's not a show you can stop watching
No, you
and
gotta
then
keep
start
going.
again. So I went all the way back to episode 1. And like, even though I've watched these episodes already, like I forgot a lot of the connections. There'll be some side characters. I'm like, who the fuck are these niggas? And then all of a sudden, like
They're
2
just there.
episodes in, it has this crazy connection.
Yeah.
And they do it so subtle. Like if you're not really paying attention, you're like, oh, like this person is important to the story. It's crazy.
It's your definition
Crazy.
of like a story, like it's really character and story based.
Yeah.
It's a very complex story. So yeah, if you start watching that show like for maybe 2 weeks, you might come back to it like, what the hell? Yeah, like what the hell's going on? Why is he in the library? Why is he trying to shoot this dude? Like, yeah, so that's a dope show. I was gonna say that one for underrated, but it is a good introductory anime, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. And man, like just the style of anime for that show is probably unlike anything I've seen. Like just the layers, the storytelling, how they connect every single like there's no reason for a prequel, no reason for any, like they do such a good job of explaining every single aspect. Like it's one of those shows where like, yeah, I wonder this one weird situation, and they fucking explain it somehow. Like, so yeah, it's a great example.
That's why I also mentioned Flowers of Evil as well, because it's another one of those. Watch it. I can't tell you because everything I tell you would be a spoiler. This is a story. You are watching somebody's life happening, and as I love when we get into those kind of things with introductory stuff. Like I think it's a good. Hey, this is how slice of life stuff works when you don't have the usual conventions. So, yeah, I feel it. Like I said, Monster and Flowers of Evil are two of my introductory, definitely honorable mentions.
I'll have to check that one out after I'm done with Monster.
Yeah.
What about you, Lamar? You got any
honorable
couple
mention?
more? Yeah.
Nah, I'm good.
Okay.
Let's just go over to the underrated. I'm good.
All right.
Let me head over to my notes. Let's see. So my first one that I haven't really heard anyone talk about, at least amongst my friends, is Dead Man Wonderland.
Yes.
Man, such a great anime. I have no idea how it didn't get picked up for more seasons. I don't even know how to explain it. Man, just the characters, the action scenes. This is another episode. Excuse me, another show where the very first episode just grabs you. And I'm a big fan of animes like that because if the first episode catches me, I don't mind if they do a couple episodes where it's kind of slow and they're explaining, showing new characters. But when they're doing that off the jump, sometimes it's hard for me to get in. And you have that one person, man, wait till you get to episode 6. Like, not with this one. Like episode 1 catches
episode
you.
75.
Yeah. Like One Piece.
Oh Lord, yeah.
But man, the first episode, like I'll say the first 5 minutes, it gets cracking. And then, man, I'll go ahead and pass it to someone else.
Yeah.
I'm drawing a blank because.
I mean, I'll share one, and I guess we can pass it around like that. Yeah. I think a really dope one. Unfortunately, it never finished because I think they're still doing the manga. They stopped a long time ago. But Berserk, I think Berserk is a very underrated anime. They had the original, was it the 90s when they had the series?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think it was like the 90s they had a series, and then in recent years they started making movies, which is essentially trying to catch you up and just redid essentially everything that anime talked about. But it's another action-packed show. And for me, I don't know, like it was just something about that show that just stood out from the animation, except for the movies. That the movies animation is kind of janky, in my opinion. But essentially this show, it follows this character Guts, who has this big ass sword. He joins this band of mercenaries, essentially.
Basically,
and one big thing about Berserk is it's very homoerotic between him and the leader Griffith. But
you're gonna have to break down that word for me.
But it's not though. Like I know what you mean, though. But it's okay. Hold on before you continue.
Yeah, go ahead.
Are you saying it's like a bromance? Is that what that means?
Kinda. Yeah, but also it's that the art style for Berserk, because it was originally made in 1989, just like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure and some of the other older animes, they have a very hyper realistic look to all characters, so they look like human beings, like normally look. There's not a lot of fluff around their bodies that you get with a lot more modern anime, and so it gives this very oiled up Spartans look to it, even though that's not really what they're going for. But yeah, there's the friendship, what should be a friendship between Guts and Griffith is it has some undertones. I will definitely say that. History would say they were roommates. I understand what you mean. Yes.
So essentially, for those who never heard the term, it's like this underlining sexual tension between two people of the same gender, mainly men, because it's like there's a I'm gonna call it famous scene. It's famous for me, where Guts does something to Griffith, and like his payback was like, I'm gonna go have sex with this woman. But it's kind of the way the story tells it is kind of like he's having sex with this woman while thinking of Guts. And it's like, and it's like, we're having this very aggressive sex because I'm mad at Guts right now.
Yeah, that's crazy.
and that's kind of how they paint it. But with that aside, like it's gory. It's really brutal at times, but I just think it's a fantastic story. I can't even get into everything because it's one of those series where when I try to explain it, I end up just telling what happened. But yeah, it's just one of those gory, like action-packed animes.
Just as long as the audience understands, Griffith did nothing wrong.
Yeah, rewatch it.
All right.
I agree. He did nothing wrong here.
He did nothing wrong.
And we cannot spoil. Again, to explain that will be telling everything. That happens in it. Yeah. But I would say check it out. I don't know. Was this on? I have no idea. But if you
I think you can get, I know you can get it on Crunchyroll, but I think you can get it some other places as well.
So I mean, JayMan, if anybody watch it, again, like I mentioned, they did there was a series in the 90s and then they did movies. The movies is going to cover the same exact thing the series went over. It's just obviously just get you there quicker and in the format of a movie. I kind of watched the movies and then I went back to the anime because I just want to see the animation style and just kind of see what they did different. But you can watch one or the other. You don't need to do both.
Okay. I didn't know that because I actually tried to get into that series like a couple years ago. And then like I went on Reddit and so I was like, first you got to do this and then make sure you don't do that first and then do it in this order and then go. I was like, man, fuck this. I'm not doing no goddamn homework assignment to watch some goddamn anime. So
man, you
I
probably
kinda,
got the neck beards. You probably got like the sweats, but them dudes, they was doing too much. Like I'm sorry, they watch it. I don't think Berserk is that in depth. At least the anime and the movies are that complex to where you need to do all of this backstory and homework assignments just to watch it. You said they are or aren't?
They aren't.
Okay.
They're pretty straightforward.
all right, I'll have
it's
one of
just
you guys
really
send me
well
a
done.
list then the order of movies to watch it then.
It's in the release, the same way they was released.
Oh, okay.
Different order they come out. Yeah. What you say, Matt? What you got?
So I'll save one for later when we come back around. But the one that I tell everyone to watch, because especially for Americans, you have probably had to read and have an entire English unit based around Shakespeare and Romeo and Juliet. So the one I suggest is a series called Basilisk. You might see it listed as Basilisk, the Koga Ninja Scrolls. It is not the same as Ninja Scroll, but it is from the same story. The Basilisk anime is 26 episodes. Somebody is getting killed in hilariously brutal fashion every episode. And in the episode where there's no one new dying, they just go over who died previously. It is two ninja clans, of which their leaders are trying to get married.
Wait, what?
Because they were trying to have peace, right? So that the two leaders were going to marry each other because they're the young heirs to the clans.
Yeah,
so they were going to get married so that there would be peace between them. And so the ruler at the time, the daimyo at the time, decides he wants to figure out which one of them is actually the better of the two. And so he sets the two clans against each other in direct conflict, that they each get a different kill list and it's from people from the other clan. So even like the grandparents of these two heirs like kill each other to start the series. And that's not a spoiler. That's like the second scene. And you go through, you've got the powers, you get a lot of intrigue because there are sneaky things going on beyond just what they're happening. It is told the same way as Romeo and Juliet is told, but with ninjas. And we're not talking about Naruto ninjas. We're not talking about, brightly colored ninjas. We're talking about, I got a technique that is guaranteed to kill this person and I'm going to go use it to assassinate them. It's that like I'm hiding, sneaking around ninja stuff. It's honestly, it's amazing. It's quick. You're going to be in and out of it. I believe the episode length is like 34, 35 minutes. So you're not getting long episodes. And like I said, it gets really in depth. You're going to really like the characters are really well developed throughout all of this. But yeah, if you want to get your fix, it's an underrated one that I think everyone should check out.
All right. I'll definitely be checking that one out.
Oh yeah.
Definitely sounds interesting.
Oh, and they got a live action movie too.
Is it trash?
No, but it's
Good?
wild. They
Okay.
made some modifications so that it's not the exact same as the anime is, but the live action is called Shinobi Heart Under Blade. And so like if you find that when you're looking for Basilisk, they're the same thing. If the movie covers most of the story from the anime, just the anime covers it in better depth.
Okay. Definitely be checking that one out. The next underrated anime I'd like to bring up is anime called Gantz.
Yes.
I fucking love
It's
Gantz.
basically like imagine almost like I guess you would say the opposite of the Matrix.
Yeah.
You're in the real world and then you get called to some room and all these people show up, just random people, and I don't know if they teleport you or if it's your mind. You just get teleported, right?
You're teleported.
Okay.
You're teleported, yeah.
So you get teleported to like another dimension where you have like you have a monster to kill and like objectives and
A video game.
Yeah, it's basically like you get transferred into a video game.
It's all,
I know it's not.
World.
I know. I said it's light. Yeah, but
yeah. But it's the room is in the real world too. Like that's all that's what they're saying in that first episode is that the room is still there, even though you just get teleported there as if you're being transported somewhere else. Yeah, Gantz is great. Yeah,
and then just the action scenes. The main character is kind of a creep. So that that kind of made me laugh a little bit. Some of the predicaments he got himself into being a full-blown creep. Man. and then nobody's safe.
Oh,
No,
Nobody's safe in Gantz. So if you like a certain character, you know,
sad.
just
Yeah.
be ready. And
Don't get attached to nobody.
yeah. And that was when I just found like a year or two. I've never
Really?
heard of it. Yeah, I've never heard of it. And I just every once in a while I'll just go on Reddit or something and
Mhm.
try to find a list of that has a lot of upvotes. And I'll just fuck it, put that on. And that's how I found out about Berserk. But like I said, like somebody made it seem so complicated, I never got into it. But yeah, definitely check out Gantz, man. And that's actually not a bad anime for somebody who doesn't watch anime and might want to watch that for the first time. So
And it's really short. It's not that long.
the
Mhm.
anime is
So,
very short. The manga
yeah.
does go on much longer. There is a live action of Gantz as well.
oh
Yes.
damn, I didn't know
Yes,
that.
there
Yeah.
is.
Yeah,
Is it
when you say
fire?
Gantz, I was like, oh, I hope he's seen the live action because yeah, there's a live action for it too.
Okay,
Yes,
I gotta
sir.
check
Yeah.
that
And
out
it's
too. Damn.
wild. Oh,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
what I heard. I've never seen it, but I heard it as well.
Oh yeah, just as wild as the actual anime is.
I think I'm gonna go with this is actually one of my top 3 animes. I always slaughter the name. It's funny, I love it. Is it Elfen Lied or Elfen? It's something
Yeah.
like
Elfen
that.
Lied or Elfen Lied, whichever way
There
you
you
want to say
go.
it.
Essentially it follows this essentially we live in this world where it's this government facility that creates these like humanoid all intents and purposes. If you look at them, they look like humans, but they kind of have like horns on their heads and they have these like invisible vectors on their back. And essentially it's like a psychological kind of horror slice of life. Like, so essentially you follow the story of this, her name is Lucy, I do believe. She's one of these little creatures. She breaks out of the facility and she bumps into this kid, I forgot his name, and it kind of gets into like their life. And it kind of gets into like, you know, how are they connected? Did they just bump into each other or and things of that nature? And it's very gory at times. I do believe the first 5 minutes of that series is Lucy escaping the facility and she is murking everybody.
Oh, did she
There's
have pink hair?
Yeah, she has the pink hair.
Oh, I
Yeah.
haven't seen that anime,
Yeah.
but I remember some random clip came up and
Yeah.
she just wakes up and
Yeah, go
she
berserk.
yeah, oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
Where there's
All right,
a
this
girl-
is that high
yeah.
for you? All right, I
Yeah,
gotta check that out
it's pretty
soon.
good. Like the first, like I said, in the first 5 minutes, it's gory. So like, there's a girl running down the hallway and she's talking to somebody. I think she's talking to her dad, and you don't see it, but you just get decapitated.
Mhm.
Like you don't see what does it, but you just see her head just separate from her body. It's very graphic at times, but it hits these very emotional beats. And it talks about a lot of different things, you know, from like prejudice to like child abuse to a lot of different things. And it's really short. I do believe it's only like 13 episodes, if that. So it's one of my favorite animes. It's really good. So if you like some very emotional beats to your stories and you don't mind gore, I definitely recommend it. And I think it's really underrated. I don't hear a lot of people talk about it too much.
That's because the anime fans that talk about it know that we have to ease you into it.
Yeah.
Like, we can't just be like, yo, watch this.
No,
It's
no,
like
no,
giving
no.
somebody the first episode of Goblin Slayer. Like, there's some things you can't do first.
And that's why I didn't like. That's why I was like, I'm not going to say this is a good introductory. I was like, this is a terrible introductory to anime.
Yeah.
Between
Yeah.
naked girls to people getting decapitated, you're gonna be like, what the f- is going on? Because it does kind of have some of those like, it's not a lot, but it does have some of those like pervy beats. And the kid is not a perv, but there's a part where like he's trying to change her, and like a friend walks in and is like, why do you have your hands on this girl's like panties? And it's not supposed to be creepy, but you know, it's that shit that they be in anime that just some people get turned off by. But yeah, it's a good one. I really enjoyed that one.
Definitely be checking that one out.
Yeah, definitely. Elfen Light's great. So I want to switch up just a little bit in this recommendation. Instead of a show, I'm going to give you a movie.
Okay.
And it's because I think not only is it underrated, but I also think it's a very good basis for a lot of people to come into this style of film and television presenting. And that is Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust. So the reason I'm suggesting this, it's an older film. The Vampire Hunter D series goes back to the 80s, and I think they had an animation back then as well. This movie came out 2000, 2001-ish, somewhere in there. The reason I recommend it, and the reason I think it's one of the underrated ones to be seen, is it is a very Western style presentation. So you're going to feel very comfortable with the way it looks. For a modern example that it looks like the Castlevania Netflix series as far as the
Okay.
style is concerned. It follows D, who, like Alucard and in Castlevania and Alucard from the Helsing series, is going about dealing with other vampires. D is very much stylized like the Western knight errant. So he's got a giant sword. He rides this black horse, has this very armor looking outfit on. It's all black. He has this huge hat, and he is the partial human son of you know whose name starts with a D. That's a vampire. And this is set into the far-flung future. The particular Bloodlust film deals with somebody who also will know from the Castlevania series, Carmilla, in throughout the film. And so it's dealing with a bunch of different situations around it. I think the movie's right around 2.5 hours. It has some other vampire hunters in it, has some great action scenes in it. Like I'm talking about beautifully animated, even holding up till now action scenes. And then it also has a very good story of both his issues as well as the characters that he's trying to help out in the films things as well. And like I said, it's underrated. It's not really talked about often because it's such a Western style animation. But even the creator of the Vampire Hunter D series, she is Japanese as well, but her stuff was made in that same, like her art style is very Western in its look and aesthetic. So it's a great one. I personally love it. I probably watch it every other year at least once. It's really good.
All right. That definitely sounds interesting. Definitely have to check that one out. I love vampire stories, and sound really sounds interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Man, sorry, I sound a little lost right now because I'm thinking in my head what to say next as I'm answering. And I think for my next underrated anime, I'm gonna go with I hope I'm pronouncing it right, Dororo.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
Yeah.
don't know if
Yep.
you guys have seen that.
Yeah.
Um, it's a story about like this. There's this dude that's kind of like I don't know how to explain it. He's man, I guess
You
the
don't want to give up
closest.
too much of it, right?
Yeah, it's like he's obviously a person, but he's kind of like he's missing, I guess organs. Um, so he's kind of limited on what he can do. But he's actually a really good fighter. Just a really good person. As the series progresses, he slowly starts to get like some of his body parts back. He's able to fight more and more. And there's this little kid that's a big part of the story that's always there for him, and he's always there for each other. They help each other out. It's like the little kid's like the heart of the story, and he's part of the reason that basically a lot of bad things that would have happened end up not happening as they work together, save each other. But yeah, unfortunately, the plot is so easy to give away, so I don't want to say too much. But last when I watched it, it was on Amazon. So you might be able to check it out on Amazon. Show called Dororo.
Man, I want to say I appreciate these recommendations because like sometimes with a lot of the mainstream animes, or at least some of the older ones like Dragon Ball Z, like
Mhm.
they're not too complex. Like it's not much to them. So you can be like, yeah, it's just some monkey dude just punching people in the face for
Yeah.
400 episodes. But again, just kind of to speak to the diversity of anime. So it's really a genre to get into. But with that said, like another one I really enjoy, again, hopefully I'm pronouncing this right, is the Oren High School Host Club. I don't know if anybody's I don't know
Haven't heard of that
if
one.
Not my thing, but yes, I can definitely say that it's
so
recommendable.
it's really like a good introductory if you don't like a lot of like fighting and gore and stuff. It's really one of those slice of life animes. It's dealing with this host club in high school. They're essentially they take women on dates. I'm assuming that's just kind of what it is. Like it's a club at the high school. So imagine if all three of us just join this club and JayMan, you like people come to you and you go take a friend on a date. They're like gigolos, but they're not having sex. But they'll just take women on date. And it really is just this girl comes in and she's really like androgynous. So the president of the club thinks she's a man. So he makes her join the club. And essentially the joke doesn't last long, but he thinks she's a man, but he's kind of like falling in love with her at the same time. But it's just a really just silly, hilarious, just like, yeah, no fighting, nothing. It's just these kids in high school just living life. And the reason I really recommend it is I had a 16-hour flight, and a friend of mine, she was like, you gotta watch this. I went into this anime, I didn't know what to expect. I just downloaded a bunch of them on Netflix, and I get on a plane and just start watching it. And it was not what I expected, but the whole time I was just smiling and laughing. I was like, this is just a little fun little anime, just dealing with high school kids, it's all fun in games, really. And that's pretty much it. They're in this host club and they take people on dates, and it's just kind of their misadventures with that whole thing. And I think it's kind of underrated and a good like introductory anime.
Okay.
All right. So I'll give you another one that's Toonami generation folks will immediately be like, oh yeah, watch that. And that is one of my favorites of all time, Outlaw Star.
I knew he was gonna say Outlaw Star.
Gene Starwin is one of my favorite characters. Also, Lucy and Cool is partially based on Gene Starwin, so I was going to mention him at some point. Outlaw Star is space focused. It is actually got connections to a number of other series. Starlight Express is one of them. Technically, there are references to Cowboy Bebop during it as well. So if you start seeing people saying, "Oh yeah, I love this," if you like this, you should watch this other series. That's why they have some things that they mention at different points that mention other animes that exist. It follows Gene Starwin and his technically not his actual little brother. It's really just his best friend. They just act like two brothers as they are dealing with a situation where they end up with a very rare spaceship and hunting for the Galactic Ley Line, which is this place basically can grant them whatever they want. Right. They kind of get thrust into the situation. It's 26, if I remember correct, episodes, might be 28. But beautifully made. Like the animation's amazing on it. And the series is fun. It gets in your comedy elements. You get in plenty of your action sequences, both hand to hand as well as using the ships and other things. It's got a really fun aesthetic beyond that. Like it definitely feels like a true futuristic cyberpunk world. No matter where you are, whether you're on Earth or in one of the colonies or in other places in space. I love it. Like I said, it was one of those ones that Toonami just hit it out of the park when it came out, but I know a lot of people didn't know about it at the time. It's a great both introductory thing because the fights are not just ridiculous fights, and because the story does have twists and turns to it that will draw you into the story elements of it. But it does have a finality, some finality to it. It does have a true conclusion to it. That is really easy to understand. It's probably easier to understand than some of the other ones I would recommend from the same era, your Cowboy Bebops, your Blue Submarine 6. Like a lot of the stuff that I would say that survived Toonami and would still be worth going back to look at probably still pale into how easy they are to watch as Outlaw Star is.
Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't heard of that one, but sounds interesting. I'm gonna have to, man. I'd add so much.
Look, I'm gonna just make you a list,
now,
bro, and just like you're like, hey, look, here's all 97 of these ones that you might want to get to over the next 10 years.
Definitely, my backlog is already long, but man, I'm glad we did this episode because I'm gonna have to jump a couple of these up as you guys mentioned because that one with the what's it called? The one you brought up, Lamar, with the is it Elfin Light?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm definitely need to check that one out soon because I just remember seeing just a 2-minute clip of that and that bitch was murking off. I was like, okay, I gotta watch this.
When that shit goes down in that series, shit goes down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait for that one.
And I didn't want to
So
like mention, the obvious stuff to you.
Yeah.
Like everybody's gonna say Hunter x Hunter and Yu Yu Hakusho and
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. It's
Mhm.
like, let's stay away from that stuff. Let me do some stuff that's actually
Exactly.
a little bit deeper.
Exactly.
Definitely. And here's one that this is just a personal preference for me. I'm not sure you guys probably have not seen this. Is one of the Netflix animes. It's called High Rise Invasion. I don't know if you guys or anybody listening has seen the movie Smoking Aces.
Yeah.
Came back in like the early 2000s, I think, where there's just a bunch of hitman trying to kill somebody, and it's just silly, funny. Imagine Smoking Aces, and then there's a bunch of hitman trying to kill somebody, mixed with like an escape room type situation where you're trapped in these different buildings. You go from building to building for different supplies. There's a different type of hitman in this building than there is the other one. So you got to find different ways to try to deal with these different people trying to kill you. You're trying to figure out how to escape. There's a way to escape apparently, and they're trying to solve like the riddle or the mystery on how to get out of this entire situation. Um, they wake up like this, by the way. They just wake up and then some dude is coming like to kill them in the first minute. So if that's a show you want to turn on, and like if you're not feeling it after 10 minutes, like you're fine. It's probably not gonna get better for you. But for me, it caught me in the first couple minutes. Just imagine somebody waking up, and the second you wake up, someone's over there with a knife or a gun chasing you down, trying to kill you. You don't know what the hell's going on. And then you run into a building, and then there's another different hitman with a mask on trying to get you. And it's like, it really got me. And then I was hoping for a season two, but they haven't announced anything yet. But it's a newer anime. I think it came out not last year, the year before. So High Rise Invasion.
Google saying it came out last year. So yeah, hopefully we'll
Oh, it
get
did?
a season 2.
Oh, okay.
I'll check it out. I guess my last one just is a hear me out.
Can't wait for this.
The name it's an
go.
obvious choice. It's a name that when people hear it, like if you don't understand anime, you're like, how is that underrated? But I think it's second. Dragon Ball Z. I mean Dragon Ball though. I feel like Dragon Ball is underrated because of Dragon Ball Z. Me personally, I enjoyed the aspects of Dragon Ball a lot more than I enjoyed the aspects of Dragon Ball Z. Because Dragon Ball, you actually had some type of arc. It was more adventure based. With the fights, for that time, in my opinion, a lot of fights were well done. You can actually see what's going on. It's just not flashes of just wind and lights and beams everywhere. It's just kind of like, for me, if someone wants to look and see why someone likes Dragon Ball Z, but don't want to do all of it, just men screaming, I think Dragon Ball, it captures that, at least for me. Because like in our last episode, I talked about how like when I started writing, Dragon Ball was one of the animes that I actually just sat down and watched. And I watched it a little bit as a kid and I hated it because my first introduction was Goku all beefed up, yelling, punching people. And when I watched Dragon Ball as a kid, I was like, what the hell is this? Where's the fights? Where's these big bad villains? And then as an adult, I learned to appreciate it a lot more, to where, like I said, it's toned down. And again, it's just an adventure of a little kid trying to find Dragon Balls. And what happens along the way as he's trying to get these Dragon Balls. It's really silly. It's very pervy. It's just kind of what you're going to get with a lot of old animes. But I think it's just a fun anime that is often underrated just because its big brother is Dragon Ball Z, and everybody know that whether they watch anime or not, for the most part. So I think Dragon Ball, in the scope of the world that is in, is underrated just because Dragon Ball Z is just so hyped up.
That's
Which,
fair.
as an adult, I hate Dragon Ball Z, but as a kid, I love it.
I feel you. You know, this last one's kind of hard to pick on the underrated because there's a lot of stuff in there. Also, Dragon Ball is really more based on Journey to the West, the story of the Monkey King. So that's why it has a better feel to exactly what you're talking about. But like, man, I have so many series that I would love to just put in this slot and be like, yo, you got to watch this. This would be the thing to make you take off. I'm gonna recommend one that's very silly, extremely silly, but in the silliness and the fourth wall breaking, you have an environment that I think people would appreciate it in the same way people like comedy movies and comedy TV shows. And that's Gintama. So Gintama is going to make fun of every other anime that you've ever seen at some point in the course of the series. They make jokes about Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball. They make jokes about Bleach, which is my favorite of the shonen anime that are out there. I'm a classic Bleach fan, but they're gonna make fun of them. All of Naruto catches these jokes like everybody else does. Cowboy Bebop catches these jokes. Everybody catches these jokes, and at the same time, you have this kind of really wholesome, sweetly well put together, funny comedy series. I don't want to ruin anything because there's a lot of stuff that goes on there, and telling you a bit from one season might have nothing to do with the season that you start watching at. But in One Piece, y'all aren't safe either. No anime is safe. Everybody's gonna get made fun of. So, like, he does better fourth wall breaking in Gintama than I think Deadpool does in the Marvel universe. Like, it's
Okay.
that good, and it's not one that people bring up a lot because I think it can feel very dated at times because of when it was made, and the point it has gotten to. But it's one of those series, like when you hear about Rurouni Kenshin or when you hear about Samurai Champloo, and you hear people talk about, Western stuff like Afro Samurai and Powerful Girl. Like, I need you to understand this is a comedy series. You're gonna laugh. It's okay to laugh at this. This is totally there for you to laugh at. And yet you're still going to have fun because there's still, if you want that adventure aspect, you're still going to get that adventure. If you want that combat, conflict aspect, you're going to get that too. But you're also going to have these characters that are developed that you get very endeared to over the course of things. You Inuyasha fans, because I know you're out there, they're making fun of you too. Everybody's catching smoke.
They need to be made fun of, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, so it's great. I really like. I don't normally talk about it because it's one of those, like, I watched it, I love it, and like it was one of those. It was kind of a moment in time kind of thing. But I really think if you want to get one that's truly underrated, despite having a very big Japanese audience at the time that it's brand new, it's definitely that. It definitely fits in that.
All right. Have not seen that one yet, but now you're making me want to watch it.
Bro,
anything
get some
that roasts Dragon
popcorn,
Ball
get a
Z.
nice drink, sit down and just laugh. Don't take anything too serious. Just sit back and laugh and enjoy yourself.
Sounds good. I'll definitely be checking that one out as well. And then I got a couple more I'm gonna get into, and then after that, anything else you guys got or pops into your head while I'm talking, more than welcome to bring those up. So I'll start with Terror of Resonance, I think it's called Terror of Resonance. Not sure if you guys seen that one. Basically, the first episode starts off following these two terrorists. They blow up a building. They're freaking this girl gets involved, likes talking to one of them, and she gets in the middle of a little bit, so they have a decision to make. Like, do they kill her? Do they try to bring her in as an accomplice? Do they, make it seem like she's crazy and behind the whole thing? And then as the story unravels, you kind of understand the reasoning behind the why they are terrorists, and it becomes a little bit more understandable. Has a similar chess mind game to Death Note. So anyone who watches and like Death Note, if you haven't seen Terror Resonance, check it out. The mind games, the police trying to trap the terrorists outsmarting the police back and forth. It's not as much face to face like Light and L, but definitely it's more like a cat and mouse type thing where terrorists are on the run. But yeah, definitely check that one out. And then the last one I want to bring up that I feel is underrated is anime called Seraph of the End. Anyone that's seen Promise Neverland, you'll definitely love this show. It starts off with these kids basically in an orphanage. They're being held captive. Well, captive, yes, technically they're being held captive by vampires, and the vampires aren't like really, what's the word? They treat them, I guess, fair enough. They're basically there for them to feed off of, but they don't necessarily hurt them other than, getting the blood from them, and they kind of coexist together. Of course, the humans rebel, and I'll just leave it at that. And then it has a little bit of Attack on Titan in there, a little bit of Demon Slayer, mixed with Promised Neverland. So if you like those three animes, just a little bit of a mixture of all of those, definitely check that one out. And then I'll go ahead and pass it back to you guys if you guys have, one or two more.
I'll go. So if you're a Metal Gear Solid series fan, any of the Metal Gear games, I recommend that you watch Black Lagoon. In the same way that you've got the action and strategy and politics, the betrayals and the sort of near future aesthetic to things. Black Lagoon is really going to be a really great experience for you. I'm trying to think. Well, I always recommend this. This is just a me thing. This is one of my personal favorites of all time, even though most people apparently just don't like it the same way I did. It's called Desert Punk. And I won't remember anything about it. It is a very good combination of comedy and action. And it's very, if you ever saw the movie Tank Girl back in the day, and definitely go watch Tank Girl. It's a great movie.
Okay.
But if you ever seen Tank Girl, it is a very similar feel to Tank Girl, just as an anime series. And I love it. It's not something that people talk about often. Sort of the same way Gintama is not talked about often, but I love it. And like I said, Black Lagoon, if you liked any Metal Gear game, doesn't matter which one, you're gonna like Black Lagoon. Like, you're gonna have a great time with it.
Okay. Another one added to the list. Did you have any others, Matt?
You mean Lamar? Because I just went.
Oh no, I'm done. I mean, I guess the only one I can think of is Trigun. Is a good underrated one. I do believe that's another Toonami error. I think it was on Toonami.
It was.
Now I will say this: I have not watched Trigun as an adult, so it may not hold up. But I do remember it's one that always stands out to me because I thought the character designs were just amazing. Essentially, it's a famous gunman. I do believe he's not killing anybody, but essentially he just people are trying to kill him, and then throughout the series, you just kind of learn more about his past and everything. But I just remember just watching it as a kid. It was like really great designs for the characters. His famous just red trench coat from his big ass revolver that he carried around. So I don't know, home dude had it looked like a big ass cross weapon.
Nicholas D. Wolfwood.
See, I knew you would know. I was a regular. Yeah.
Where do you think Father Knight came from in my D&D campaign?
Oh, see, there we go.
Must be a good one then. Trigun, y'all.
Yeah. So again,
please watch the original series, not the one they just did. They just did like a remake of it, and the designs are all 3D style. I'm not exactly big on the new version, but watch the original first. You'll still appreciate the new one, but watch the original first.
Okay. Yeah, so like I said, he's a famous gunman. People are out to kill him. But then it kind of explores like his past and just more and stuff starts unfolding. But yeah, it's a really good anime from what I can remember. With that, I have no more underrated ones, so I'm gonna just let y'all kind of do y'all thing.
All right.
I was gonna suggest Redline. It's another movie one. Redline's an entire car race based film. So if you liked Mad Max Fury Road, you're gonna love Redline. Trust me.
All right. Some great recommendations, guys. Man, like I said earlier, my backlog has gotten longer. I'm actually excited for some of these, the way you guys hyped them up. So I appreciate it. I'm gonna have to go back and listen to this episode. I normally don't listen to the whole episode after we record, but I'm gonna have to get all these recommendations down.
There's a lot of great names on there. I'm like, man, just send a list.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna slide you all the secret ones that I couldn't talk about on the show. Like, see, we got.
All right, yeah, hell yeah, man.
Yeah.
Send me the list, man. I need it. But yeah, I guess we'll go ahead and start wrapping this episode up. I want to say thank you to Lamar for hopping on with me. Thanks to Matt for hopping on with me. With C-Rock out, I didn't really know what to do as far as making sure we have another episode this week. And this was a good episode because C-Rock doesn't really watch anime, so this would have been an episode I would have had to do without him anyways, or else he would have just been on here just talking shit about everyone's picks, calling us nerds. So shout out C-Rock. And on that note, we gone.
Peace out, y'all.
Later.